positive influence on all of those that are around him. Now, you can say, Durick, what are you doing, reading between the lines? No, I just know this man's character. That's why God chose him. That's why God had him where he had him. He made Joshua the ruler after Moses died. And of course, as we know, Moses never got into the promised land. He just got to see it from a distance. But Caleb and Joshua went in. Now think about this. He was 85 years old. And he said, you know, I'm as strong now as I was when we started. And I'm ready to fight. And I keep thinking, you know, if you go back in history, if we probably looked at those folks, the average Israeli was probably about this tall. Because they weren't real big people, not in that time. But this guy, I guarantee you, 85 years old, I wouldn't touch, I wouldn't fool with him. He would whip my behind because he was a man. And he, you know, he just, his whole life, he didn't worry about how big anybody was, what kind of fortifications they had, what kind of weapons they carried. All he concerned himself with, am I doing what God has called me to do? And as long as I'm going to do that, I don't have to worry about fighting the battle. The battle's already going to be won because God said for me to get involved in it. That was his whole attitude about life. That was his whole attitude about service to God. And as we know, God had promised him, you know, I'm going to give you your portion when you get over there. And so as they're dividing up all the lands, Joshua's dividing up all these lands, Caleb comes to him and he says, basically, and this is paraphrasing, he said, you know, Moses, he said, you know, you swore on that day that we came back that surely that you'd give me that land that was promised to me. And he looked at him and he says, now, what I want you to do, I want my portion to be that part over there in the hills, in the mountains, where those big guys are. You know, they make us look like grasshoppers. He said, I want those guys. I want that part. We're going to go over there. And his words, what I love about it is, it says, let me just read this because this comes from Joshua. And Moses swore on that day, saying, surely the land which your foot has trodden shall be your inheritance for you and your children forever, because you have wholly followed the Lord my God. And now behold, I am this day 85 years old. I'm still strong today as I was in the day that Moses sent me. My strength now is as my strength was then for war and for going and coming. So now give me this hill country of which the Lord spoke of that day. For you heard on that day how the Anakim were there with great fortified cities. It may be that the Lord will be with me, and I shall drive them out, as the Lord said. Can you imagine being a person who was under Caleb as your leader? And you had this guy who was long in the tooth, you know. Keep in mind, they weren't living 900 years old, for 900 years when he was there. I realized that he had eaten a lot of manna, and I'm sure that had a whole lot to do with the fact that he was still, you know, real virile and all that. I don't know. All I know is exactly what he said. He followed God. Moses said that about him went back, way back when, from the beginning. He trusted him. He was in his inner council. But here he is, when he gave him that land, he did do exactly what he said. He went in, he subjugated that land. He took that land. And, you know, it's kind of like one of those old things, you know, you always heard that old saying, I could just see him walking up to one of those old Anakims and said, just how big a boy are you? You know, because I'm about to, you know, open up a can on you, and you ain't nothing you can do about it. And he took care of what he had to take care of, because he knew that as long as the Lord was with him, the victory was the Lord's, and he would just share it. See, a lot of times for us, we get caught up in so many things in our lives that hold us back, that put fear in our hearts or that want to deter us from doing what God would have us to do. You know, a lot of people thought we were crazy when we decided we wanted to boycott the Target stores. You know, when we went after Target, people thought we were just completely stupid. How can you do that? And look at it, what's happened in just a little over a year. Look at what we've seen happen to them. I don't know if you followed this very closely or not, but, you know, they're kind of like one of these, you know, kind of take it as it is. The Anakin of the old days, that's a big corporation. Their expansion just about has stopped. They're closing stores. And of course, you know, it's not that we're not trying to be braggadocious in the sense that we're crippling them financially. All we wanted them to do from the very beginning was stay neutral. But they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They had to voice their support for an abhorrent lifestyle. That's the kind of thing that when you stay faithful with it and you go after it, and you're going to hear the ridicule, and it comes after us, no question. We've been called a lot of names. But at the same time, God's going to get the victory in it. Amen? Amen. This is the kind of thing we need to understand about our own lives. It don't matter how old we are, how young we are in the faith, whatever the case may be. Putting our trust in God and allowing Him to have the victory, whether it's in our lives, whether it's in the lives of our children, whether it's whatever in the lives of our business, He will get the victory. And we will enjoy that relationship that we have with Him and sharing it with Him. So I hope that encourages you a little bit today to know that, hey, even as you approach your 70s, you can look and say, I ain't through yet by a long shot. And I hope and pray that when I turn 85 years old, I still look at the world just exactly like this guy did and say, God, whatever you have me to do, I'll do it. Anybody have any